Hello, my miraculous friend. This is Reverend Frances Fayden, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. And I'm so excited for today's episode because this is going to be my very first guest interview. But before we do that, let's go ahead and do what I always like to do, is take a few deep breaths together to get ourselves grounded and centered. And remember, if you are listening while you're driving, keep your eyes open, but you can still focus on your breath. And as you're focusing on your breathing, letting go of whatever happened before, whatever might be happening later, just allowing yourself to come as deeply into the now as you can, because the now is where the divine dwells, and it is the moment for miracles. And as we are getting ready to open ourselves up to receive this message today about creativity, messages, and miracles, knowing that whatever it is that you really need to hear is what you'll be hearing today. Let's take one more deep breath in gratitude, and we can begin. Well, welcome once again, my friends. I'm so excited to be here today and to share my very first guest interview on our topic of creativity, messages, and miracles. You're actually going to get to have an experience of all three of those on today's call, which is really, really very exciting for me. And I'm really excited to share with you that my very first guest, in all transparency, is my favorite artist. She also happens to be my wife, Deepa Liu. And I'm going to introduce you to her and tell you a little bit more about her. And then we're going to dive into this amazing topic because I've gotten to witness her journey, and I'm so excited to share it with you. So you can see the real power of miracles that is available to you every day. So Deepa is a sacred artist, a spiritual success coach, interfaith minister, and founder of the Sacred Arts Mystery School. She's been on the spiritual path for over 30 years and calls herself a Buddhist Yogi. As a sacred artist, Deepa infuses each painting with the intention and vibration of higher consciousness. Each piece brings the presence of the divine into your environment and blesses you and your home. Her Sacred Arts Mystery School is designed to teach spiritual seekers, healers, creatives, and highly sensitive women to develop their connection with spirit, to develop their intuition, and to fulfill their purpose. So I'm so excited to introduce Deepa Liu. Hi, Deepa.
Hey.
I'm so excited that you're here. I'm going to just share with people too, if you're listening on iTunes or you're listening audio only, this episode, I'm going to encourage you to go over to my YouTube channel and actually watch this episode, because you'll get to see all the beautiful images that are here. Deepa is in her art studio, and she's going to be doing, introducing us to some of these beautiful images, and I would love for you to see them. So definitely go over to my YouTube channel, Frances Fayden, and check it out. All right, Deepa. So I decided I'm going to be asking all of my guests this question of what your definition of a miracle is. What's your definition?
Well, my definition of a miracle is anything we can't explain how it happens.
Anything that you can't explain how it happens. Awesome. And would you say that your process of becoming and being able to work with these, not only paint them, but be able to communicate with them, is part of that definition of a miracle?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I can't explain to you how it all works. If people ask me, well, how do you do this? I can't give them an explanation. I can tell them what I do, but I can't tell them how it all works.
Yeah.
It's a miracle to me.
Tell us what it is. What does it mean? Let's start with being a sacred artist, because people probably have an idea already of what it is to be an artist. So tell us, in your definition, what is a sacred artist? What is it that you do?
Well, for me, what's different with a sacred artist as opposed to just someone who considers himself an artist is I look to create what's sacred art portals, and I also do spiritual techniques, a whole ritual that I do before I paint, while I'm painting, to create images of sacred, could be sacred people. It started with Yogananda, me painting Yogananda, having that clear intention. I wanted to paint him and have his vibration and energy in the painting, so that when people viewed it, they would feel his energy and feel his vibration. So that's kind of where it began. So I really believe that as a sacred artist, you're looking to create sacred images that uplift people. That's one of the key things. And also that you have that clear intention. So a lot of artists will create, art that is processing their emotions. And so it can make me feel like you look at it, it feels dark. And there's nothing wrong with that. It can be healing to, paint something that helps you process your emotions. But my whole goal and intention is to help uplift people, help bring out their divine self, their higher self, no matter what path you're on, when I create these portals. And also to have it be a way that they can commune with their higher power and get, help their intuition and help them develop their connection with whatever they believe in as their higher power.
So you use the word portal. And so can you explain to people what the difference is between just a painting and a portal? Because I think of the word portal and I think of like a gateway or something like that. What do you mean when you say that that painting is a portal?
Yeah, a portal is a doorway to me, a doorway to help, like to your higher self, to your higher power. It's about helping you deepen that connection with, God, Buddha, Allah, whatever you call your higher power. It could be the universe, spirit, but how do you deepen that connection so you feel like someone has your back all the time? Like you don't feel alone in the world, and you feel like, that you can actually talk with this person or this higher power, not really a person, but this higher power, and feel like you sense it, that it's here with you. So, and also the portals are to help you find a way to start to trust your intuition, I guess is a better word. Because I find I hear from many people, they talk about how, they get these kind of feelings or intuitive things, but they don't trust it. And so how do you develop that trust in it? So my portals are made also with the idea of they be a blessing. So the doorway is to, the blessings that you can receive from your higher power, having that deeper connection so you have a better understanding of where, God or spirit's trying to guide you, and trusting that message that you're getting.
That's awesome. So I know the story, but I want you to share with other people. First of all, how did you become an artist? And then how did you become a sacred artist? What happened?
Well, if you'd asked me years ago if I was a creative person, I would have probably said no. That in itself is a miracle. And what happened was, my wife, actually said, why don't you take an art class? And I was like, all right. I wasn't necessarily enthused. I was just like, all right, let me go do it. Let's go check it out. And I used to doodle things, or at least I thought they were doodles. People would look over my shoulder and say, oh my God, you're an artist. And I'd be like, no, it's just a little drawing of a tree that I did or something. But, so I was like this with it. And so I decided to take the art class, and I started doing it. And I was like, oh, I love this. Let me do it more. And I started going to class every day. And as I did that and started to learn, I realized, I want to paint a person. And that desire to paint Yogananda came up. This is my first painting of a person. Yeah, it's my first painting of a person with Yogananda. I'm pointing to him. And I don't know how many of you know who Yogananda is, but Paramahansa Yogananda is a Swami that came from India to help bring East and West together. He's a self-realized master. And so I wanted to paint him. And there's people who are disciples of him, and I'm a disciple of him. But I wanted his energy and vibration to be infused into the painting so that when people saw it, they would feel his energy. But this was something I wanted to do that I kept to myself. I just had this intention and started this little ritual of doing it. And what happened was my teacher, when I first started taking lessons, used to yell at me to relax. He'd go, relax, Deepa, relax. And I'd be like, what? And he goes, you got to relax when you paint. So I started bringing in my spiritual techniques and practices, because I'm also certified as a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher, to relax. So I started to meditate, do some yoga postures, do a prayer before, because I wanted to relax, like he said. So then when I had this idea to paint Yogananda, I was doing that, and then I created a little ritual of like listening to his voice and things like that, because I wanted his vibration to be infused into the painting. And I did this all privately, like no one knew I wanted to have this intention. But when I was finishing him up, one of my co-students walks by and goes, hey, Yogananda's in the house. And I was like, oh, I think I did a pretty good job. She's giving me a thumbs up. But that wasn't the amazing part of the story or the miracle part of the story. What happened was I hung Yogananda up to dry, because oil painting takes a few days, sometimes a few weeks, depending on how much paint you have on there to dry. And so I put them up to dry, and I came back about 3 or 4 days later, and I went to check them. And I'm like looking at them, and some woman who I did not know comes up to me and says, "Are you the person who painted Yogananda?" And I said, "Oh, yes, I am." And she said, "Well, I just have to tell you, I'm a disciple of his, and I can feel his energy and vibration in this painting when I look at it." And when I was looking at her, I said, "Oh, well, thank you." But on the inside, I was like, oh my goodness, it worked. It worked. So then I was motivated, like, what else can I do? What else can I create with it that would have a vibration, of like a blessing in it? Because then I started to think about, I want to bless people. And how can I bless people through my art? Bless them with higher consciousness, bless them with the aspects of God. I started to think that way.
So what you're saying then is that process of you relaxing and bringing in those spiritual techniques is really what helped you to come up with this process of a painting becoming a portal, because now it's infused with energy, is what you're saying.
Exactly, because everything's energy, right? And we don't think about it, but you can infuse a vibration and energy into something. You can infuse, like a consciousness into something you're creating. And that's what I discovered, which the first time doing with Paramahansa Yogananda. And it was just an idea that I thought was a crazy idea, that I thought people were going to think I was crazy if I talked about it. That's why I didn't tell anybody, because I just started to do it and said, oh my goodness, it worked. Let me try it again.
So you don't sell your originals for that reason, right? You sell copies of these G clays, is that right?
Right. I do high-end G clays, which are art reproductions done on either, could be done on canvas. I do them mostly on archival paper, which is high quality paper that doesn't deteriorate like other paper does. And also it's archival ink, so it doesn't fade. So if you buy it, it lasts like a long time. The only reason why it would fade was because you left it out in the direct sunlight for, many, many days and months before it was going to fade.
But you still infuse those G clays with the same energy, is that right?
Yeah, what I do with every G clay that comes across that I get made is I pray and bless them that they carry the energy and vibration of the original one, the blessings of the original too, because each portal I create has like a blessing that I want it to give to the viewer, to the one experience it, to the one who's wanting to use it as a doorway, as a portal, because it's the sacred art portal is a way for you to commune and build a relationship with the divine through this piece of art.
That's so awesome. So what happened after Yogananda?
So then I was like going on to color painting, and I was like, okay, well, what kind of person can I paint as a color painting? So I'm going to switch here.
So that was your first, that's not officially color, that's considered, what is that, sepia tones?
This is like tone. Basically, I used burnt umber and white, and just painting the different color tones in between that created Yogananda. 2 colors to paint the whole thing.
Wow, just 2 colors. So instead of being black and white, that's kind of like a brown and white kind
right, like a burnt umber is a dark brown.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was my first
Yogananda.
That's Yogananda. So then I was on to color, and I was like, okay, well, what kind of person can I paint in color? And I decided to paint this one.
Wow.
Which is Our Lady of Guadalupe.
So this is your first color painting.
So I decided to paint Our Lady of Guadalupe because she's the only piece of art I know that's a miracle. And I don't know how many of you viewers who are listening know the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe. I'm going to give you a really short Reader's Digest version. But she basically was a vision that came to a man called Juan Diego in Mexico many, many years ago. Was it 15th century?
1530, yep.
Yeah, 1530. And he had a vision of Mother Mary, of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And she told him to go talk to the bishop about building a church. And so he went to the bishop, and the bishop came back and told him, I want some kind of, proof that Mother Mary really showed up to you. And so he goes back and he gets another vision of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and she says, okay, well, come back to the mountain. It was in the wintertime, and I'll give you proof. There'll be roses for you to bring back to the bishop, because roses didn't grow in the wintertime. So he goes back and he gets up to the mountain. Roses, gathers the roses in his, what they call a tilma, which is a cloak. It's a peasant cloak. Puts all the roses in his cloak, and he goes back to the bishop, and the bishop has him come in, and he opens up his cloak to show the bishop the miracle of the roses. And as he opens up the cloak, all the roses go falling out, and on his cloak is an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Now, this is obviously my rendition of the original. The original looks slightly different, but this is what I was called to paint. And the thing about the tilma is the material of a tilma would have deteriorated by now. That was over, 500 years ago or 400 years ago. And that tilma still exists today in Mexico. And her image is on there, and there is no explanation of the substances that made the image. Like like if they were to analyze my paintings, they could say, oh, this is oil painting, this got these certain types of elements in it. But on our original Our Lady of Guadalupe, they can't explain the elements that make the image. There's a whole list of other miracles I'm not going to go into here because I know it would probably take up too long. But if you ever want to check it out, it's an amazing story. But I decided to create Our Lady of Guadalupe with the blessings of her miracles. So there are all these aspects of the divine in yoga. It's peace, calmness, joy, love, wisdom, power, light, and sound. And I look to create each image with one or two of those aspects in there. With Our Lady of Guadalupe, I was looking to create the energy of the miracle of the original in there, which one of the miracles is the fact that she's the energy of creativity. She's the only image that we know of Mother Mary that shows up as a pregnant woman. And you might be going like, well, how do you know she's pregnant? Well, the clothing that she's in, the garb that she's wearing at that time period, only pregnant women wore. And so that's how they know that she's the only depiction of her showing as a pregnant woman.
That
so
is
for
amazing.
me,
yeah,
I like to use her to tune into the vibration of creativity. If you're ever having a stuck moment, like you feel like you're creatively blocked, I always say, get Our Lady of Guadalupe and tune into her. So the miracle with her that happened, because she was my second portal, that I was like listening to certain music, doing spiritual techniques to create her, doing all these things, was, again, here I am finishing her up. And a lady who I don't know comes in. She's like a brand new student, and she happens to be from Mexico. She sees the painting and she says, oh, she's so beautiful. I can feel her energy in the painting. You should take her. You could go sell her for $1,500 if you bring her to a Catholic church. And I started laughing. And I said, well, thank you. But I felt like, that's Divine Mother telling me more proof. This isn't some crazy idea I have. I'm supposed to keep doing this.
That is so awesome. I love that. And whenever I work with Mother Mary as Our Lady of Guadalupe, it's the same thing. Whenever she shows up for somebody, it's because that person is either a creative person or she's encouraging you to pursue your creativity. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I have her in my studio next to me every time I'm painting a portal.
That's amazing. So these images are things that you've seen, like you know what Yogananda looks like, you know what this looks like. But then what happened with some of the things that you're painting?
Well, I had one more idea that came to me, which I was going to let you guys see. This was the one idea that I had if any of you have ever lived near the ocean or sea. This was one that I call God rays. Let's see. Might not have a word. There you go. And I call God rays because sometimes when it's a cloudy day and you drive by the ocean, there'd be these little breaks in the clouds and then these rays come through. And every time that would happen, I'd always feel like, I'm being blessed by God, because I would really feel like that, like, oh, the rays, I can see how they're blessing us, they're blessing everybody. And so I thought, I have to create a seascape of these God rays. And so that's what this is here. So I created God rays. Now, this was actually, I think, my last one that I did from like an idea. But what started happening was from me combining creativity and spirituality, like the spiritual practices, with creating these sacred art portals. My intuitive abilities, I don't know what you call it, visions started to change. And the miracle with this is that I have been on the spiritual path since, for over 30 years. but yet I was never a visual person. I would go to like things and people would be, leading a guided meditation. They'd say, visualize, blah, 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 blah. And mine would be blank. I'd feel things. I'd feel energy. I could feel something. I'd sense a feeling, but I wouldn't see anything. And so after I did this third painting, it's like things started to come to me in meditation, visions. I started getting these flashes of visions of things to paint. And so I started sketching them down quickly to the idea. So like that one behind you, Francis, Mother Mary blessing the world, that was a vision. Yep. Mother Mary was there blessing, I could feel the blessings coming of this ball of light coming out, and it was blessing us with, us with what we needed at that point. So then I started getting these visions, like a lot of them in meditation, started sketching them down. So right now I have more visions than I've painted, because I haven't kept up with it. I'm not necessarily the fastest painter in the world, because it's all about the vibration and the energy that I'm infusing into it, not how quickly I get them done. It's so fascinating to me, because I know when I met you, you were like, yeah, I don't see anything. I'm definitely not seeing anything. But by opening up to your creativity, different aspects of your inner vision started to expand. So that's what I was going to ask you, is like, what is the connection between the creativity, the messages, and the miracles? Like, what have you noticed has developed in you? Well, there was one more step besides just the creativity and spirituality. The creativity and spirituality of combining those two things together opened up my visions. But I wasn't willing to give messages or let people be blessed by my portals at first. I was creating them with the whole idea of blessing people, but the only person they were blessing in the beginning was me, because they were in my art studio and I was the only one who saw them. Oh, and maybe you, because you saw them, because we lived together. But beyond that, that was about it, And it wasn't until I realized, like, oh, I'm not willing to let people see them because I have something that needs to be healed. And so I started bringing in the healing aspect of, I have to heal this part of me that's not willing to be seen, that's not willing to show my artwork, because I was afraid of what people would think. Who does she think she is? Or is she's crazy thinking up this idea that a painting could bless anybody, And so, Divine Mother, though, was trying to make it obvious to me, because people would say stuff to me. Like even with God Rays, I finished that up, and I happened to take a class just to be with some people. And one woman said something about that was like the most gorgeous painting she'd ever seen, and that it really felt like like how you feel like when you go by the ocean and feel it, like the blessings. And she said, and then she said something that was derogatory to herself, like, and I'm convinced I'll never be able to do that myself, or something. But Divine Mother was just like letting me know that this is something for me to do, not that she was saying a derogatory comment about her, but like, this is my purpose to do this, and I need to take it seriously. But I wasn't, because I was afraid. And so it wasn't until I started healing that and got on the healing path of combining the three together, creativity, spirituality, and healing, that I started to actually go out and share my work and truly bless people.
So now you talked about messages. So tell us how that whole message process works. And can you give us a message?
I can. So, the sacred art portals, when I started to create them, at first it was just like I'm creating them. And I felt like I had a relationship with them, but I didn't really realize to the depth of the relationship and how much alive they were until we moved. As we follow our divine guidance or Divine Mother's guidance, so if we feel the time is to move to a new place, we do. And so I obviously, when I move, have to pack them up and put them in boxes to keep them safe with, padding and everything. And then I had gotten to the next place we were living at that time, and I didn't take them out immediately because we were, unpacking other things. And then when I finally took them out, I could feel like, oh my goodness, like, I missed them. I could feel I missed them. But then when I took them out, I could feel how the energy shifted in the room and the space that we were living in when I took them out. And that's when I started to realize like how much more alive they were than I even realized myself. And then one of my own coaches, because I believe everybody, needs a coach, suggested to me to start communing with them on a regular basis. Because I would commune with them here and there. And so she said, well, maybe you should start communing with them on a regular basis. And that's when things started to open up even more. So I tell everybody, like, if they decide to get one for themselves, like something speaks to them and they get one of the G clay reproductions, the more you commune with the portal, the stronger that connection is going to be, the more messages you're going to get, like it's going to help you to develop and start to feel blessed by it. Because if you just like put it up on the wall and ignore it, like, if you ignore your friend, how much of a relationship are you going to have? How much can you be blessed by your friend if you never have a connection with them,
Right.
or your loved one? So it's really about, now I commune with them. So like my latest one I've been communing with is Archangel Michael's Sword of Light, the big long one of the Sword of Light. I've been communing with the Sword of Light a lot. And the Sword of Light is really about helping you to, release and let go of, cut away all that's no longer serving you and that's keeping you from being your true self and stepping into your purpose. Because one of the things I want to bless people with, besides the aspects of the divine, is helping people to find and fulfill their purpose. Because I have come to realize from me stepping into my purpose that is part of my purpose, besides creating sacred art portals, but it's to help people find and fulfill their purpose. Because when people do that, then they're stepping into their full self. They're becoming their true self, and the world begins to transform when everyone's doing their purpose.
Yeah, it's so true. And one of the things I love about your story is that, I think that your ability is amazing, and you didn't even know it for most of your life. So this idea that people have, like, well, like, we think we know ourselves so well, and we get to a certain age and everything's set in stone, and it's not. You have no idea what's possible for you if you just allow yourself to be open to it.
Yeah, this ability only really became clear to me in the last about 5 years. And so I tell people, never too late. A lot of times people say to me, "Oh, I'm too old to do that. I'm too old to do it." You're never too old. The only time you're too old is when you're dead. Yeah, look at me like I'm funny, but it's true. If you got life, you got breath in your body, and you can move and do things, you're never too old. And the thing about it, I've seen people who are like quadriplegics, and they do amazing things. So I'm like, you don't even have to be able to move your body as long as your mind's working and you're wanting a desire to do something.
It's true.
You can do amazing things. I've seen people paint with a paintbrush in their mouth. Where I've seen stories about that. Yeah. Not that that's necessarily the purpose, but I'm just saying.
I know, I get it. It's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
all right. So is this the painting or the portal that you're gonna share with us today?
Well, I always ask, who wants to show up, and I actually got the God Rays wanted to show up with the message. So how I do it is I actually take a moment and tune into the energy of the portal, and I like if someone's working with me as a coaching client, every time I meet with them, a portal asks to show up,
and I actually so cool.
Yeah, I actually ask the portal what's the message, the guidance they have for that person. And then we talk about how to apply it practically so that they can actually start to fulfill their purpose, or find it, depending on where they are. Because if they don't know what it is, it's about helping them discover what it is. And if they know what it is, it's about helping them to start fulfilling it. How do you take action? Because, your purpose morphs and changes over time. A lot of times people feel like if they find this purpose, it's just one thing that they're going to do and they've arrived and they don't have to do anything else. And it's not true. It morphs and changes as you grow and expand, because we're constantly growing and expanding. So today, God Rays showed up and said, God Rays wants to give a message. I don't know what that message is yet. So what I do is I tune into that and find out what the message is.
Okay, so this is the portal that wanted to give a message to all the listeners of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast today. So this is called God Rays. Okay.
Right. So I'm going to tune in for a minute.
All right. So she's going to go ahead and tune in and find out what that message is for all of us. And while she's doing that, you could just let yourself take a few deep breaths and get ready to receive this message.
So what God Rays is starting off with is God Rays is saying that, I'm blessing you with the blessings of love and of the sun and of, I don't know why she's saying this, but the daughters, the sons and the daughters. So let me ask her what that means. So God Race is saying that she's really blessing everybody here with the energy of bringing balance in between your masculine and your feminine side. And it's about how do you do that in the world so that you can create a world of possibility, of peace, of joy, of that everybody can do their purpose and everybody can actually live in a place of peace and harmony and joy. So she's blessing us with that ability to find that place where the masculine and feminine energy come together and meet in harmony rather than discord. Because that right now in most societies, there's a discordance between masculine and feminine energy. And that the masculine energy has been the dominant energy for too long, and that we need to bring it together in our own personal lives, in our own personal being, so that we can bring that into the world. And that is what's going to bring more harmony into your life if you're lacking it. That's what's going to bring in more joy in your life if you're lacking it. And that's what's going to bring in more success in your life if you're lacking it.
Wow, that's
So,
really powerful.
so that's the message I'm getting today. There could be more if I keep tuning in, but that's what she's giving me right now.
Wow, that's so amazing. And as you were saying it, I was looking at the image and I was like, oh, I could see that. It's kind of the dance of the sun and the water. And I know you can get a different message every time from the portal. It's not like it's the same message every time. But that really resonates with me, and I'm sure it's going to really resonate with a lot of people of how do you do that? How do you bring together the being and the doing and the masculine and the feminine? Such a beautiful message.
Yeah, well, thank you, God Race, because I never know what I'm going to get. And usually, like the first line I get, I have no idea what it means. You know, like when it comes, I'm like, okay, the sun's and down as well. Why is she saying that? You know, why is God Race saying this? And so then more of it comes. And so it's one of the ways that I found really helps um, enhance like a person's session with me, you know, if they're doing coaching. So, because it's not just here's the left brain telling you what to do. It's about here's the blessing, what the divine is wanting you to focus on. And then how do we help you do that? You know, so,
Yeah.
but this is a miracle to me. I never would have done this, you know, before. It's not until I really brought in that last part of healing component into creativity, spirituality, and healing that I really started to see, you know, miracles show up. Because if you ask me how, I'd say I have no idea how this works. You know, I just know it's been working, and I keep getting signs from the universe and from God to keep doing this.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, Deepa, how can people find out more if they want to know more about your Sacred Arts Mystery School, if they wanted to find out how they can work with you coaching wise, or like how do you want people to connect with you? What's the best
Well,
way?
right now I am offering a complimentary Unlock Your Creativity session,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's about helping people to start to own, you know, their creative power, their spiritual path. Because what I've found is that, you know, a lot of times people have a spiritual path, and sometimes that spiritual path isn't working for them anymore. And when I say not working for you anymore, I don't mean like it's the wrong thing necessarily, but it may be how you're applying it, or maybe you need little tweaks to do it. Because as an interfaith minister, every path is honored. But what I have found is that you have to find the spiritual tools and techniques that work the way you're wired. And so that's one of the things I help people do, is help them discover what that is. And then also what healing has to happen. So the Unlock Your Creativity session is about helping people to see, like, you know, what possibilities are there, get to commune with the portal for a little bit. And then, you know, and if they like what they feel like they have a purpose and want to start moving forward with it, whether or not they want to work with me or not. It's, you know, there's no pressure in it. It's just, are we a fit? And if we're not, you know, my biggest purpose is to bless you, bless you with a message from the divine, bless you with, you know, you stepping into your highest self, your best self.
Well, we will definitely put that in the show notes for people, and just for the people who are listening, they would go to your website. Is it deepalu.com? Is that where they would go?
Yeah, they can go to deepalu.com, but they can also we can put in a scheduling link where people could go and actually go do an online scheduling themselves if they want to
Oh,
look at my
okay.
calendar. So we can do that. So
Okay.
that's really simple for people. If they hear this and they want one, they can just go in there and
Okay.
look at my
So
schedule and book it.
I'll put it in the show
So
notes then, and there'll be a link to your online scheduler where people that you can schedule your own Unlock Your Creativity session, which is so cool. You can get a message from one of these portals, and you can learn more about how creativity can really help you to magnify the miracles in your life, as they have with Deepa in such a powerful way.
Yeah. And if people are wanting to go check out more of my portals, go to deepalu.com and then, and go to the gallery page. And a lot of them are on there if people want to see them and kind of get an idea of more, because there's obviously more than what I've shown here.
Yeah. And I'll just spell that for people. It's DeepaLiu.com, deepalu.com. And that's where you can see all of the beautiful portals that she has, the beautiful paintings. And if you would like to order some G-Clays, you can do that. So we'll put that in the show notes as well. Well, thank you so much, Deepa. I loved having a message, and I love getting to see your beautiful art. And thank you for the beautiful image that you always let me use of Mother Mary blessing the world. That's the painting and the portal that's behind me. Whenever people see it, they're always, the first thing they say is, wow, that's amazing, the energy that comes off of that painting. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's been just a pleasure to get to share this. I love sharing, like all the blessings of what the portals give people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, my miraculous friend. Well, thank you for tuning in again. And remember, if you enjoyed this episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast, please leave a review on iTunes and let your friends know as well. And remember, the key to magnifying your miracles is to remember that your miracle is already here. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.